Yo, YouTube, what is good? It's your boy, that lit fire DJ. So today we are going to be reacting to four most disturbing 911 confessions. So let's check out the video. Yeah, let's enjoy.
On November 7, 2014, a 911 dispatcher in Springfield, Tennessee picked up a call at 2:45 in the morning. The man on the other end sounded eerily calm and polite, which only made the horrifying confession he was about to make all the more unsettling.
Okay, what's going on?
Alright, this is what's happened. Been married 12 years. On the 4th, which would have been 2 nights ago at 4 a.m., I shot my wife in the temple of her head. I thought I killed her.
Where did you shoot your wife? Whoa, what's that? This is about to be crazy. Yo, I think this is about to be a bit graphic because before I played this, they actually said, before I played the video, they actually said this was going to be quite aggressive or quite disturbing. And this is already disturbing because, yeah, man, this is going to be a long video. But hopefully it's not disturbing that much. But anyways, let's keep going.
And I put her in the freezer out in the garage.
This was the voice of 45-year-old Joseph Parker, who had just confessed to taking the life of his 44-year-old wife named Samantha. If Joseph hadn't made this call himself, it could have been weeks, even months before the crime was discovered. You see, most of their neighbors described the couple as elusive. Joseph rarely spoke to anyone, and Samantha almost never left the house. They also spent no time in the yard, and their windows remained permanently covered at all times. So, without Joseph's confession, no one would have suspected that Samantha was missing. What puzzled the neighbors most was how completely out of the blue it felt. No one ever heard any arguments or fights between the couple, as they seemed to be living an ordinary, rather uneventful life. However, beneath the calm exterior, their marriage was starting to fall apart. It started when Joseph lost his long-standing job at the nearby Toyota dealership, and without a source of income, the bills started piling up. Missing mortgage payments also resulted in their house being marked for foreclosure. It's unclear if this financial stress was the only reason Joseph snapped on the day of their 12th anniversary, but it certainly was a major factor. He ended her life just as he described on November 4th and kept her in the garage freezer for 3 more days before dialing 911 and admitting to his crime. That said, while increasing guilt could have played a part, the actual reason Joseph called was much more bizarre. According to him, Samantha was still somehow alive and conscious despite being shot in the head and spending 3 days in a freezer. He even described communicating with her through her blinking.
Wow, that's crazy, man. This, like, oh, you see, not the same as if a family living in a house like this, which is quite good because, damn. Yeah, this is crazy. Like, I'm getting crazy stories, yo. I'm getting crazy stories. Wow. Wow. I'm surprised. This could happen?
The reason he called wasn't to turn himself in. Instead, he just wanted to ensure that she's taken to a hospital and saved before she passes away.
I thought I killed her. And I put her in the freezer out in the garage. Well, I checked on her tonight, and she's not dead. She's got a big hole in the temple of her head, and to get her body moved around in there, I think I broke her wrist. You know, she was frozen from being in the thing. She's been in this thing 48 hours now. This is no prank call. I need somebody to get out there and help her out. And you'll see her once you get in the garage. And she's a mess. She can't talk. I could get her to blink. Blink once means yes. Blink twice means no. And, so I told her, I'm going down the road 10, 15 miles. I'm going to call 911 and get you some help out here. I thought she'd been dead 2 days, and when I checked on her, she was still alive. She's been frozen for 2 days. She's frozen solid. It's amazing she's still alive.
He refused to give any information about what caused him to do this, and also made it clear that he had no intentions of getting arrested. He was apparently driving away from the home when he dialed 911. He also claimed to have left the home unlocked so officers would have an easy time getting in, before ending the call with a declaration of his love for his presumably still alive wife, stating, "I love her. I still love her. I've loved her every day I've been married."
Don't lie. Man, that guy is lying, man. Like, that is... Man, please don't lie, man. Like, we all know that you don't love him, man. Because you wouldn't do that to someone that you love. But this is crazy work. Like, I'm not going to hold you. This is crazy work.
To her, "We just had a rough stretch here." By the time officers arrived at his address, Joseph himself was nowhere to be found. They cautiously entered the garage and found the freezer he had described. However, its contents were far more gruesome than he had revealed. Joseph had partially dismembered Samantha's remains so they could fit in the small freezer. Analyzing them also made it clear that she was indeed dead and had been for multiple days. Put simply, Joseph seeing her blink was nothing more than a delusion, one he possibly developed as a coping mechanism for what he had done. This also meant that he was mentally unstable and likely had a firearm on him, making him a danger to anyone who crossed his path. This resulted in him becoming a part of Tennessee's top 10 most wanted list, with a team of investigators working every second to find his location. After successfully pinging his cell phone and searching for many more hours, Joseph was spotted driving south on the I-24 highway at around 3:24 p.m. Officers rushed to his location and after a short pursuit managed to pull him over. But before they could apprehend Joseph, he decided to turn his firearm on himself, ending everything and escaping the consequences of his heinous actions against Samantha. On the morning of January 7, 2007, the Vancouver, Washington Police Department received one of the most bizarre 911 calls in the state's history.
911, how may I help you?
I'm Dylan Peterson, and I just killed 2 people.
Wow, man. This is crazy. What? Hey, it's just like crazy, right, man? I don't have nothing to say, but this video is amazing. Let's see. The confessions are crazy, like low key, like damn. Like some people some people live in a cruel world. But okay, let's see.
Who did you kill?
Matthew Nagel and Mrs. Nagel, I guess.
At around 7 a.m., 25-year-old Dylan Peterson dialed 911 and casually admitted to committing a double homicide. He sounded disinterested, almost bored while describing the details of what he did.
And how did you kill them?
With a knife.
Are they there too?
Not anymore.
Where are they at?
Well, they're here physically, but they're not here, spiritually.
Their bodies are there?
Yeah.
Who are they to you?
Who are they to me?
Uh-huh.
No one.
At the same time, he also had the tone of someone seeking attention and validation for their actions. Like when the dispatcher stayed calm and continued typical protocol through the process of gathering as much information as she could, Dylan started becoming audibly annoyed. He clearly wanted to talk more about what he did.
What?
How do you spell your first name?
How do I spell it for Dylan?
Dylan. And what's your middle initial, Dylan?
R.
And your date of birth?
Come on, I just killed 2 people.
As police would later find out, Dylan wasn't lying about the murders. The 2 people he killed were his friend Nick Nagel's 45-year-old mother Sandra and 15-year-old younger brother Matthew. Dylan was enrolled at the Western Culinary Institute in Portland and was renting a room with the Nagel family while he attended college. As he described the situation on his confession call, one thing became clear. Dylan had no intention of running away. However, one thing that remained vague till the very end was his motivation for committing this violent crime.
I
Okay,
killed
well-
2 people. It's awful.
Why did you kill them?
Why?
Uh-huh.
Why? Oh, come on. I killed 2 people.
I understand that,
You
Dylan.
got that?
Yes.
I killed 2 people. I
Okay.
killed them.
We get it, man. Okay, we get it. Please just tell why. We want to know why. Yeah, this is nuts. Crazy. Wow.
Why did you kill them?
Why?
Yes.
Because.
Because why?
Because I was born to.
They found Dylan near the front door, just as he'd mentioned on the call. They instructed him to come out of the house with his hands above his head, and he complied without saying a single word. He didn't resist arrest or say anything in defense. Inside, officers found the bloody remains of his 2 victims with signs of a struggle from both. Unfortunately, we'll likely never know what happened that day. Dylan later accepted a plea deal to avoid the death penalty in exchange for over 57 years in prison, all without ever talking about his motive or presenting any argument to justify his actions. From what we know, this was a random, tragic act of violence from a deeply mentally unwell man. The way he calmly confessed to everything without a shred of remorse bordered on psychopathy.
There are 2 people dead, and it's bloody, and it's gross.
Okay, how long ago did you do this?
After I knew both of them were dead? No.
How long ago did that happen? Are you sure that they're
How
dead?
long ago?
Yes.
Oh, poor Sandy just stopped breathing. Poor Sandy just stopped breathing. Poor
Okay.
Sandy.
That said, Dylan was never formally diagnosed.
Okay.
On December 31st, 1980, the 911 dispatch center in St. Paul, Minnesota received an anonymous call about a potential murder at around 3 a.m. The person on the other end sounded hysterical as they described the situation.
Oh, this is back in the 80s. 1980. Let's see what life looked like then. I want to see how that happened there. I'm curious to know.
Yes, please. This is an emergency. Please send a squad to Pierce Butler Road, Molenberg Manufacturing Company, machine shop. Please, there's an ambulance too. There's a girl hurt there.
Can you tell me what happened to her?
Just hurry. She's laying on the ground in the back by the railroad tracks, by the edge here. Hurry.
What's the address?
I don't know.
Who are you?
This almost sounded like a prank call, but when officers arrived at the provided location, they discovered 20-year-old Karen Potok lying in the snow. She had extreme, repeated blunt force trauma to the head and was fully unconscious. The chances of her surviving were slim to none, but she was rushed to the hospital, and in what can only be described as a miracle, Karen actually managed to recover and resume normal life, though at the cost of some permanent brain damage and loss of her memories surrounding what happened. If that anonymous caller hadn't reached out for help, she likely would have passed away before anyone else found her. However, what seemed like an act of kindness by a good Samaritan concealed a far darker truth below the surface. It wasn't until June 1981 that this truth began to emerge, when the same person with the hysterical voice called again with a very straightforward confession.
Oh, yeah. Finally, I just stabbed somebody with an ice pick. I can't stop myself. I keep killing somebody.
30 minutes later, a group of kids discovered human remains hidden in a bush while playing in Minneapolis, the neighboring city to St. Paul. This turned out to be an 18-year-old student named Kimberly Compton, who just moved to Minneapolis that same day to start a new life. Sadly, by the time officers arrived at the scene, it was already too late. A later autopsy report revealed that she had 61 stab wounds across her body, highlighting the sheer cruelty of the act. All of these wounds were also inflicted with an ice pick, pretty much confirming that the person who called half an hour earlier was the one who did this to Kimberly. The top priority right now was to figure out who this person was. This revelation also made investigators rethink the Karen incident. Could it be that this killer was the one who attacked her as well, and only called because he thought Karen was for sure dead? Fortunately, they didn't have to wonder for long, because just a few days later, the potential killer called again.
Don't talk, just listen. I'm sorry what I did to Compton. I couldn't help it. Don't know why I had to stab her.
3 confessions in one time. This guy, man, the death. I think the death deserves the death. I'm just going to say that it deserves the death. I know YouTubers can be like, oh my god, don't say these things. But okay. Yeah, this is terrible.
I am so upset about it. I keep getting drunk every day and I can't believe it. It seems like a big dream. I can't think of being locked up. If I get locked up, I'll kill myself. I'd rather kill myself to get locked up. I'll try not to kill anybody else.
This call almost made him sound remorseful of his actions. However, as investigators would later find out, this was nothing more than an act to seem more innocent than he actually was. Things stayed calm for over a year, until another woman's remains were discovered along the banks of the Mississippi River on the 6th of August, 1982. She had similar ice pick stab wounds to Kimberly and had likely been floating in the river for at least a day. This turned out to be 40-year-old Barbara Simmons. A postal worker found her purse in a post box near the river, allowing investigators to identify her remains. That lead then took them to a bar where Barbara was seen talking to a man before leaving with him on her last day. After talking to eyewitnesses, this man was identified as 38-year-old Paul Michael Stefani, a St. Paul resident. Investigators began monitoring Paul for evidence while also releasing recordings of his calls to news networks, hoping someone who knew him would come forward with a tip. The media dubbed him the weepy-voiced killer due to his distinct tone on calls. Though apprehending him continued to prove difficult, investigators needed some solid evidence, or at least probable cause, to make their first move. Luckily, Paul provided that opportunity himself on August 21 when he tried to lure in and attack 21-year-old Denise Williams. But Denise managed to successfully fight back. She ended up injuring Paul and escaped with the help of a passing stranger. On the other hand, returned home and tried to call an ambulance for himself. And that's when his luck ran out. The emergency dispatcher recognized his voice from the news segments, resulting in a police car showing up right beside the ambulance and arresting Paul on the spot. He stood trial in 1983, and while he managed to evade any charges for Karen and Kimberly due to insufficient evidence, he was charged with the murder of Barbara and the attempted murder of Denise. Paul was eventually convicted on both counts and sentenced to 58 years in prison, but that's not where his story ended. You see, Paul found out that he was dying of cancer in 1997 and had only a few more months to live at best. So, in a move no one saw coming, he not only confessed to the Karen and Kimberly cases, but also named a 5th victim that the police didn't even know about, 33-year-old Kathleen Greening. He eventually died in June 1998, marking the end of the weepy-voiced killer. On the morning of December 9, 2010, police in Naples, Florida received a heartbreaking 911 call from a 14-year-old boy desperately seeking help.
Okay, what is your name?
Alex,
Alex, what's going on?
my parents were shot.
Your what?
My parents were shot.
Your parents were shot?
Yes.
Stay on the line, okay? Alex, how old are you?
I'm 14.
14, where are they now?
They're in the bathroom.
But he did it. Oh. Don't tell me this 14-year-old did it. Because if you actually did it, I'll be actually disappointed. But these are crazy confessions. Like, okay.
This was an all-around terrible situation to be in. But here's the thing. Alex's parents weren't shot by an intruder or something along those lines. In a shocking twist, Alex claimed that he was the one who shot his own parents. However, he also claimed that it wasn't on purpose and that he did it in his sleep. According to him, he woke up in his parents' bedroom with a firearm in his hand and both parents bleeding in the bathroom.
Okay, who shot your parents?
I did.
You did? Okay, stay on the line with me, okay?
Okay.
Let's get you some help. Was this an accident, Alex? How did this happen, sweetie?
I don't know.
You don't know?
First thing I was sleeping, the next thing I know, I had a gun in my hand. My pants on the ground.
Okay. Alex, is there anyone else in the house with you, sweetie?
Oh, you gotta hurry.
Huh?
You gotta hurry.
We're on the way, okay?
The dispatcher then gathered as much as she could while also instructing him to go outside and wait for the officers to arrive. The call lasted about 10 more minutes, during which Alex stayed adamant that he didn't know how it all happened. He also tried calling out to his parents multiple times, but they weren't responding. Aside from tragic, the whole situation was extremely bizarre, something that would stay a part of this case as it moved forward. The officers arrived just before 9 p.m. and immediately rushed inside to check up on Alex's parents, 40-year-old Thomas and 39-year-old Kelly. Sadly, both of them had passed away by that point. They had a single gunshot wound each, and the firearm was in the bathroom with them. Alex was taken into custody and was later charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. He was also tried as an adult, resulting in him getting sentenced to 20 years in prison, with the earliest possible release in August 2028. However, this
Wow. You got 20 years. Yeah, crazy. Crazy. And you go trial as an adult. Why do people do these things, man? Like, get out from prison, man. This guy should have gone on life. Why do people do these things?
Despite pleading no contest to the charges, Alex never changed his story. So, what happened here? Did he actually shoot his parents while sleepwalking? Well, it's unlikely. Reports of people committing heinous crimes while sleepwalking aren't exactly new and date all the way back to the mid-1800s. However, none of these cases included any real evidence to prove the sleepwalking claim. Examining them closely shows that they were essentially hoaxes the criminals created to avoid accountability for their heinous actions. This is obviously not to say that sleepwalking isn't a real thing. It most certainly is, and people suffering from it can do some fairly complex-looking tasks. However, almost all of these tasks are a part of that person's daily routine, like brushing their teeth, dressing up for work, eating, and in some rare cases even driving while still asleep. But in Alex's case, he somehow found his way into his parents' bedroom, located the firearm in the closet, loaded it, perfectly aimed at, and shot both parents individually before waking up. This is simply too complex of a task to perform while sleepwalking. Not to mention the fact that Alex had no history of a sleep disorder prior to this incident. Another oversight in this explanation is how both of his parents were conveniently in the bathroom together when it all went down. There was also a small chance of an external influence, like someone older somehow convincing Alex into ending the lives of his own parents. But from what I was able to find, the investigators found no clues pointing in that direction. This leaves the most obvious and also the most likely theory, that Alex did this due to how his parents were treating him. During the trial, he went through psychological evaluation twice, and while the full results were never made public, Alex's attorney claimed that what drove him to kill his parents was a psychological component that doctors have identified, which does not excuse criminal conduct, but helps explain it. It doesn't confirm anything outright, but it does suggest that Alex may have had a plausible motivation. An interview with a neighbor also provided more insight into their day-to-day lives, with them describing Alex's parents as controlling. They also mentioned an incident where Alex got in trouble for lying, stealing, and trying to run away from home, and how it ended with Alex being grounded inside the home for a long time. However, many neighbors questioned by investigators also argued that this was normal parental behavior and that nothing they did crossed the line. So, while the theory that Alex committed the crime as an act of revenge is the most plausible, there is still little evidence to support it. The only one who knows the truth of what really happened that morning is Alex himself, and I doubt he'll come clean now after already being sentenced and with so much time having passed.
Okay, so we've come to the end of the video.